गुड इवनिंग मैम।
गुड इवनिंग रेखा मैम, कैसे हो?
मैं अच्छी हूँ, आप कैसे हैं मैम?
बढ़िया। आपका ऑफिस में?
हाँ,
बंद?
पनवेल ऑफिस।
पनवेल ऑफिस? पनवेल ऑफिस बंद नहीं हुआ अभी?
नहीं, थोड़े दिन रखा अभी, एडमिशन हो रहा है ना। आज वो सर बहुत लेट आ रहे हैं बच्चे, मुझे लगा लेक्चर है या नहीं।
बच्चे भी लेट आ रहे हैं। कल तो सिर्फ 3 ही बच्चे आए थे। पता नहीं क्या हो रहा है। सर को मैंने बोला भी था कि एक रिमाइंडर तो डाल दो कि आ नहीं रहे हैं, पता नहीं क्यों।
एक दो बच्चों की तो एग्जाम चल रही थी।
ओके, कि लेट आते हैं तो फिर वो कंप्लीट करना बड़ा मुश्किल हो जाता है।
हाँ, अभी मैं देखती हूँ, नहीं तो मैं एब्सेंट मैसेज डाल के फिर कॉलिंग करूंगी, जानबूझ के एब्सेंट मैसेज डालूंगी। ठीक है मैम?
ओके।
हाँ मैम।
Hello, good evening, Sohana.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. What happened? Your exams are going on or something?
No, ma'am, I was very sick actually yesterday. I had a
What
very
happened?
strong cough and cold, and I had a fever, so I couldn't come.
Okay. So, the problem is if you don't come, you miss out on a lot of things. Hmm. So far, have you been able to do anything? Any practice?
Yes, ma'am, I have practiced the speaking lessons, the ones you gave last week. We had to choose randomly the 30 ones and do a little bit of that. So I did those, and I did 2 reading lessons as well.
Okay. So in the speaking, okay, first thing in the reading, are you facing any problem?
No, ma'am. Actually, even with the time, I'm able to do everything on time. So that's like I'm timing myself and doing those reading sessions, and
Okay.
those are going well.
So you're not confused with any of the answers or anything?
I do have a few doubts with the answers, ma'am.
Okay, so we'll get back to that. I think you keep those all your doubts in one place.
Okay.
After we finish off with the until the time you will be practicing more, so all your doubts we will clear in our last session,
Okay, ma'am.
right? And in your speaking, how did it go?
Ma'am, I think I'm taking a few pauses because I'm trying to collect my thoughts while speaking. So I'm trying to avoid that, but I'm taking a lot of pauses. That's what I'm really struggling with.
Okay, no, that's okay. Your first few tries that will happen as you practice and as you are you using the template?
Yes, ma'am. And I'm also recording myself.
So that's okay. At least a week or so it will take to get used to speaking in the limited period of time and thinking at the same time. So
Yes,
don't worry, you'll pick up. But
ma'am.
keep practicing, and whatever we missed yesterday, yeah, we did the other independent speaking tasks. So you can go through the guidelines towards the end of your study material. And if you have any doubts, we'll get back to it, whatever you missed out.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, good evening, Varun.
Good evening.
Good evening, Akhil. Good evening, Aditya.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. So, Aditya, I think you also missed yesterday's lesson.
Yes, ma'am.
What happened?
I actually misread the timings. I thought the class was at 4:30.
Okay, so that was a bit confusing for you. Okay, so yeah, you also have missed an important part of it. So make sure you go through the guidelines and practice on the other questions also, the other types. So the templates are there. Follow the templates. and practice on the other independent speaking question text. Yeah. Okay, Varun and Akhil, you were there yesterday. So, any doubts on what we did, or while you were practicing? No, Akhil. Okay.
Ma'am, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible now. I think your video had freezed.
Hmm.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so I think we'll begin our session. Now, the independent task we've done in detail, and like those who were there yesterday would have benefited from what we did. And for those who were not there, that is Suhana and Aditya, both of you were not there, please go through the guidelines and try to do a few of the tasks so that at least in our by our next session, that is on Saturday, if you have any doubts, we will solve your doubts. That is relating to the speaking section, and whatever doubts you have relating to the reading and listening, write down your doubts, write down all whatever question you have a doubt on, and we will solve those doubts at the end. Okay. So now today we will be moving on to the integrated speaking. Now, integrated speaking, as you know, like in the integrated listening section, you will have something to read, something to listen to, and then instead of just answering some questions, you will be given one question, a big question, and you will be asked to speak. Right? So, okay, is the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
So when you're talking about the integrated speaking section, you have 3 integrated speaking tasks. There's just one independent speaking task where you can express your opinion and give your own answer on the question that has been asked. And the 3 integrated speaking tasks are the task 2, task 3, and task 4. Now, one thing is very important to remember which task is what. Like if you have task 1, you know immediately it is the independent speaking. Task 2 will be a campus situation. Here we'll have read, listen, and speak. Right? So that is this one. So task 2, you have read, listen, and then speak. Task 3 is also read, listen, speak, but it is based on a lecture. So you will get a little reading material. There'll be a lecture or talk on the same topic, but explained with the help of examples. And then you will have the academic, the task 4, where you'll just have to listen to a lecture. It is an academic lecture, and then you will be asked to respond. Right? So now coming to the timings, the timings here are a little different from the independent speaking task. So in the reading, you will, like when they say read a little bit, so you will get about 45 to 50 seconds to read what is given to you. So this will be a very short passage type of thing. For the campus situation, it will be either a notice or flyer or something depending on relating to a campus situation. Maybe some decision taken by the university and the students want to discuss that. So that you will be reading in 45 to 50 seconds. And one thing very important while you are reading is you have to take your notes. Because like in the listening section, whatever you read or whatever you listened to did not appear again when the questions came up. Similarly here, whatever you read and whatever you listen to, you will not have access to it after the track is over or the reading timing is over, right? So that 45 to 50 seconds is more than enough actually to read and take down your notes. So we will do the notes taking part also. Now the listening part of it, usually in the campus situation, you have a conversation between two students. About say 60 seconds will be the conversation, or in the academic content, it will be a lecture. Say for again about 60 seconds, you will be listening to it. And then after that gets over, you will get 30 seconds to prepare. Right? So when you have the read, listen, speak, that is task 2 and 3, you get 30 seconds to prepare. And here you will be speaking for 60 seconds. Independent task, what was your timing for speaking? Anyone?
45.
45 seconds.
You had 15 seconds to prepare, 45 seconds to speak. Task 2 and 3, where you have read, listen, speak, you get 30 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to speak. There is 1 complete minute to speak. Yeah. And here your content is very important. Whether you have taken the important points from whatever you read and whatever you listened to, that will count a lot. Right? And in task 4, which is just listening to a lecture and then speaking, you will get 20 seconds to prepare. Right? Because here you have just one thing to take your points from you, and while in the read, listen, speak, you have the reading part and the listening part, and you have to assimilate your points from both of them, right? And the speaking part, you again have 60 seconds to speak. So this timing you have to remember, and the lecture could be anything between 1 to 2 minutes. Right? So it will be a long academic lecture, and taking down important points from the lecture is very crucial. So we will be doing each of these tasks one by one. Now coming to first now when we talk about the integrated tasks, what is the integrated task testing you for? Anybody? Because you have to read something, listen to something, and then speak. So your reading comprehension, your listening comprehension, both will come into play. And over and above that, whether you have understood the content and whether you can get your points together, all the ideas together. So combining your ideas and speaking in an organized manner, that is what is being tested. Yeah. So in this case, say, now this I've already explained to you what task 2 is. Now you have to remember one thing. Write it down in one place, make a table so that you remember what each task is. Task 1 was independent speaking. Task 2, campus situation, a notice of flyer to read, listening to a conversation, and then speaking. Now remembering which task it is, now it will always be in the same order. In your exam, the task will be in the same order. Task 1 will always be independent. Task 2 will always be a campus situation with a conversation. Task 3 will always be a small reading passage with a lecture. And task 4 will always be a lecture followed by the question. Yeah. So why it is important to remember which task is what? But that will help you because you have to be prepared to take down notes. Remember that. So when you have to take down notes, you have to be ready with a template to take down notes. Similar, and then you will be ready, you will know that, okay, what template do I have to use to answer, right? So now you will be again making use of every little second you get. So while they are talking about the question, now you will listen to a conversation. Yeah. So and before or even before, say if we talk about task 2, you will be reading something. So before you begin, you have to be ready with a format to take down your notes from the, so a table you can prepare for yourself as your, I'll show you what I have done, and according to what you want to do, you will be preparing a table whichever is convenient, a format you have to have for taking down the notes. So while they are telling you that now you will listen or now you will get 50 seconds to read a paragraph or a notice relating to so and so. Till that time, you will be ready with your format for taking down, right? And usually the 40 to 45 seconds, 45 to 50 seconds you get to read, that will be enough to take down your notes while you are reading. Now remember, it is all on the screen, and since it is not going to appear again, it is no use highlighting on the text that you have. So whatever you put down on paper, those points will be your reference points for speaking, right? So this I've already told you, you get a preparation time for 30 seconds and 60 seconds. So usually in task 2, the task will be to read, listen, and summarize the speaker's opinion in the context of the passage given to you. So we will do a question. So you will get to know what we are talking about. Similarly, in task 3, you will read a little bit, read a passage, listen to a lecture, and your task here will be to combine and the information from the passage and the lecture and answer the question that is given to you. Usually the question is about summarizing whatever you listen to with, and the when you're talking about now the whatever you read will be a concept, and that concept will always have, say a concept is defined and it will have two parts to it. There is explain two parts to explain the concept, and the lecture will usually be explaining the same concept with the help of examples, right? So keeping that in mind, you will be taking down notes. Now coming to task 4. Task 4 will usually be a lecture where again a concept will be explained, and it will be there will be examples to explain the concept. And when you are being asked the question, usually it will be summarizing the whole thing with specific focus on one particular aspect. Yeah. So whatever is told to you now, that you're taking down the notes from the lecture. What is the lecture about? What are the different concepts talked about? What are the examples and how do they explain the concepts? Those will be very important. So this is an overall idea of what the tasks are going to be. So Okay. Aditya, are you having a problem with your network? Okay. So I just explained the task 3 and task 4, where you had to listen to a lecture and take down your notes accordingly and answer a question depending upon what they ask. You will be summarizing the lecture and with specific focus to whatever the question asks you to do. Okay. So now here, this is important. I've already told you, you will be.
Did I miss? I got disconnected.
Yes, Varun, you also got disconnected.
Yes,
So,
so fourth one is just listening, right?
Yeah, fourth one is just listening. So you will listen to a lecture about a concept. It will be followed. The lecture will contain examples also. We'll come to the details when we are doing the particular task. This is just an overview of the task. So, and you will be answering the question. Mostly it is summarizing the lecture with specific focus to some particular point which the question asks you to do. Right? Okay. So, and yes, what is the most important thing you have to remember, Akhil? You have to take down your notes. Now, don't depend only on your memory, because when you depend only on your memory and you have not written down anything, it becomes a little difficult to organize your thoughts while you are speaking. So your notes will be your reference points. You can always refer to your notes. You don't have to look at the screen and speak. You can look at your notes and speak. Right? So these were the questions. Now, when coming to speaking, as in the independent section also we said, you have to speak clearly, not very slow, not too fast, not with too much gaps, and all that will come with practice. Right? So now if we are talking about the integrated speaking task 2. So it will be something like this. Now I'll just play the track so that you can, I'll just share the tracks. Now you let me know whether you can listen or not.
City University plans to begin playing music over loudspeakers in the campus cafeterias. You will have 50 seconds to read an article from the campus newspaper about the plan. Begin reading now.
Okay. Now can you see the PDF? Is it visible?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So that is what your first information track will be about. So they will be telling you, now this is your, now you know that it is task 1. You will be reading a little flyer. And one thing you will remember, always there will be something like what it is about, and there will be 2 points to it. So you will be taking your notes accordingly. Right? So if I tell you, so can you see this handwritten thing? Yeah. So this is what I have done. This is the task 2, read, listen, speak. Now when I'm taking the notes, I drew two columns. On one side, I put down note points from the passage. The other side, I put down points from the conversation, right? So when taking down the points from the passage, what is it about? That is a topic. Then point number one, and it will be followed by reason number one. So each point will have a reason. Now, if they say that the cafeteria wants to play music, they will give 2 points to it. That is 2 reasons to it, right? So you will take down point number one, reason one, point number two, reason two. Usually this will be the format for all your task two notes taking. So whatever you read, it will be first what it is about. There will always be 2 points followed by 2 reasons. Now when you come to the conversation between two students, there will be like student A, student B. Usually it is one male student and one female student. So you can refer to them as he or she. And there will be one main speaker and there is a supporting speaker who will be asking questions. Now, when you talk about the main speaker, you have to get down whether he or she agrees or disagrees to whatever the notice or flyer is about, right? So first thing that should be clear. And then the speaker in the conversation will be expressing their opinion about the different points raised in the notice, right? So you will have an opinion and reason given relating to point number one and another opinion or reason given relating to point number two. And there could be some fillers in between. The main opinion and why the student has that opinion should be taken down. So more or less, if you are ready with this, it will become easier for you to organize your notes, right? So something like this you can try, and if you think you can think of something better and something more practical for yourself, you can go on with that. So more or less, if you do something like this, you will be able to take down your notes properly, right? Okay, so now getting back to the passage. Okay. So now here's your passage. Music coming to cafeterias. Yeah, you can read this. Maybe we'll read it together so you know exactly what to take down in your notes. So now, after your first step giving you the directions, this is what comes up. Now you'll get, they said about 50 seconds to read. So 50 seconds to read and take down your notes. So here it says Mary Dixon, Director of the Student Life Committee. Now one thing is there that whatever name has been given here, maybe if you don't remember the name, at least remember it is the Director of the Student Life Committee. Yeah. Announced yesterday that beginning next semester, university cafeterias will broadcast classical music during mealtime. So this is important to note, classical music during mealtimes. Yeah, that is what the decision has been taken. Then why? So this is the topic for you, classical music during mealtimes. Now music will foster a more relaxed atmosphere. You see, this is the reason given. Point number one, music will foster more relaxed atmosphere, said Dixon. Students, now this is the point number one. Music will foster a more relaxed atmosphere. Reason, students' lives are hectic and mealtimes provide important opportunities to take a break. So, hectic. Now, when you're taking down notes, you don't write down the entire passage or entire sentences either. Take down the key words. So, students' lives are hectic. Meal times provide important opportunities to take a break, catch up with friends. So that is important. What are they expecting the students to do? Take a break, catch up with friends before moving to the next class or assignment. Now we are also hoping, now if you look at the transition word also that is, this is the second point. So point number 2, we are also hoping that if we provide the music, students will unplug their personal music device. Yeah.
Right, so what was point 2? This is the second reason, right? So point
Yeah.
2
So the
is,
point 2 is, why are they playing? Now this is there are 2 points to why have they decided to play classical music. Number 1 was to make the students take a break and catch up with friends so that they relax. And point number 2, hoping that providing music, students will unplug their music devices, their Walkman and MP3 players or whatever they carry. And why? Reason, they will spend more time talking to each other. Yeah. So what they want, that they will, so the students will not bring their Walkman or MP3 players. They will talk to each other, and otherwise when they have the headphones on, they do not connect. So these are your points. So if you look at your notes, what have you written down relating to this passage? Aditya, can you tell me what you've written down?
I wrote that first main topic.
Okay, you can look at your notes and read it out.
Okay. First, I wrote that it's main topic, that is classical music during break time. Then I wrote the first point, that is a more foster and relaxed environment. Then I didn't write the reason because it was pretty obvious for that.
Okay. So catch up with friends, you can write it down.
Lives are student lives are hectic, and to catch up with
that,
friends.
Yeah. So hectic, catch up with friends, or take a break, catch up with friends. Just that much is required. Okay. Point number 2.
Point number 2 is that first disconnecting their own audio devices. So I just wrote audio devices for that.
Okay.
And then the reason I wrote that since they will get more time to talk, so talking with friends.
Spend more time to talk to each other and connect. So that those were the keywords we required.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Varnika. Hello, Varnika. Can you come in, please? Okay. So are you having a problem? You can't unmute yourself? I think you should. I would advise you to get to a device where you can at least speak, even if you can't keep your video on, because we are doing a speaking section. So I would require you to speak also, right? So if you're outside, then at least make sure you are in some place or some corner where you can get to speak. Okay. Okay, so this was your notes from your reading. Now this reading part will disappear after 50 seconds. So all this you will be doing within 50 seconds, or maybe sometimes 45 seconds also would be given to you. Right? So now you know you don't have to take down everything, just the main topic, reason point number 1, point number 2. If you can figure out the reason, write the reason for each point. Because what you will do in your when you are listening to the track is, you will be looking at, you will be when you are taking down notes from the track, it will be in response to these points that you have taken down, right? Okay, now I will play the track. And remember, your question also will not appear before the track has been played. Okay, here's your track number 2.
Now listen to 2 students discussing the university's plan.
Did you read this article? Are they serious?
Yeah,
I think so. Why?
Well, first of all, a lot of kids aren't looking for a relaxing break at lunchtime. They like to study while they eat, especially if they have exams coming up or some assignment they have to get done.
Yeah, that's true.
And now they won't be able to concentrate. This is going to be very distracting.
Okay. Yeah, I see your point.
And second, most students don't like classical music.
It's certainly not what I listen to.
So are people going to stop listening to their own music?
No.
I think people are going to be even more likely to bring their MP3 player, to play their own music and block out the classical stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The man expresses his opinion of the university's plan. State his opinion and explain the reasons he gives for holding that opinion.
Okay, so that was the track, and the question also is in the track. And besides, if you miss out the question in the track, doesn't matter. The question will come up on the screen also. So while you are speaking, the question will be there for you while you are preparing. So now, if you notice, in the speaking, the man was responding to the particular points, first and second, both the points. Yeah. So what did he say in response to the first point? Can you give me? Give me, Varun.
Wait, can you repeat what you said?
What was the response to? Okay, first thing, what was the opinion of the student?
Okay, so first of all, he disagreed with what the announcement said.
Yeah.
And the first one was that he said that playing classical music would not help because it would it would not help them relax, and rather many students would get disturbed as many students prefer to eat and write at the same time.
So they will be studying for their assignments or any test, and it would be distracting. Right? That was the first point. I hope all of you have got your first point down. Yeah. Okay. Now, Suhana, can you give me the second point that the student raised?
He said that students don't end up really liking classical music, so it will just force them to take out their MP3s more and just listen to their own music.
Yeah. So they will be anyway carrying their own players, and it will not help in connecting with each other because the students will block out the classical music playing. Yeah. So now you've got your points, right? Now you can give it a try. Before we go on to the templates and all, I want you to give a try to answering the question. So in 30 seconds, you can frame your question the best way you are able to. So this is your question. The man expresses the opinion of the university's plan. State his opinion and explain the reasons he gives for holding that opinion. Now remember, you have to integrate both the passage and the conversation. So you can take a little time to prepare.
Ma'am, they've only asked for the student's opinion. So should we summarize the passage or should we just talk about the student's opinion?
When this is state his opinion and explain the reasons he gives. So the reasons are also there. So point number 1, point number 2, reason 1, reason 2, everything will come in. Okay. So anyone ready? Aditya, are you ready with your points?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you speak then? Can you give me your answer?
Okay. Shall I start?
Yes, you may.
So the man is strongly against the announcement, which said that about classical music would be played in the break times. He says that instead of relaxing, students like to study during the break, and classical music will in turn disturb them. Then many students don't like classical music. Some might, but not all are of the same taste. So students are more likely to bring their own MP3 devices and Walkmans. And instead of connecting more, they would be isolated and start enjoying by themselves.
So that's it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you spoke for about say 40 seconds. I'll get back to your answer. Okay.
Okay.
Anybody else wants to respond? Yes, Varun?
Yeah. Okay, so the man disagrees with the committee's decision to play classical music in the cafeteria. To play classical music in the cafeteria. This is because he thinks that he says that no, it will not help the students concentrate at all, as many students try and study and eat at the same time. And another reason why he didn't approve was that most students dislike classical music. This means that rather than encourage them to take off their headphones and switch off their audio devices, it achieves the opposite effect and has them put on their headphones and listen to music while studying. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So now you also spoke for about
I think that
a
was,
little more than 45 seconds.
yeah, it was, I wasn't keeping count of the time, so I had
Okay,
like,
no, that's okay. Now,
yeah,
one thing in both your responses, I found that you stuck to the question, right? That state his opinion and explain the reasons he gives for holding that opinion. Yeah. Now, in these questions that are in task number 2, what you have to do is, even though the question says state his opinion and explain the reasons he gives for holding that opinion, you have to give first a brief on what the notice is about, right? Or say what the decision is about, the announcement. Here it is about an announcement, right? So what is the announcement made? That has to come in first. And then you go on to the opinion of the student. So the you can, so that way this plus that will amount to your 1 minute, right? So you can begin with that the director, maybe the name, if you don't remember, that's fine. You can just say the director of the student life committee had made an announcement, and everything will be in the past tense. Yeah. Or if you want to use the present tense, then everything should be in the present tense, either all past tense or all present tense. Yeah. So the director had made an announcement that they would be playing classical music during meal times in the cafeteria. There were two reasons for the announcement. According to them, the students would be relaxed and catch up with their friends before next class. That was the keywords that you had written in your notes. So just use those keywords. And secondly, according to the director, the students would not bring their own MP3 players or Walkmans if classical music was played in the cafeteria. Right? So that was the main 2 points um, of the announcement that the student is responding to. Then you come to, however, the student does not agree to the reasons given by the agree to the decision made by the director for 2 reasons, right? And then you go on to explain the reasons, the opinions and the reasons given by the student, right? Okay, so now your first try was not too bad. Now what we'll do is we will look at some templates to deal with this particular topic. Okay, so now this we already discussed, so I'll not repeat it. You can go through it whenever you have a doubt. Go through the guidelines. How many minutes, how many seconds, which task is what. Okay, another thing you have to keep in mind, unlike the independent task, in any of the integrated tasks, your opinion does not count. So do not give your opinion. You have to stick to the opinion of the student, stick to the content of the lecture, but never ever give your own opinion in any of the integrated tasks. Write it down somewhere, keep note of it. So now if what did the question ask you to do? The main point in the question was to summarize the state the opinion of the student and give the reasons why the student said so, right? So now what you will be doing is, first you will be summarizing the situation given to you. That is whether it is an announcement or it is a flyer, a notification given, whatever it is, summarize that first. Yeah. So you can begin with according to the passage or according to the announcement, the university plans to play music, classical music in the cafeteria. So this is your template that you are going to use. According to the passage or announcement of flyer, the university plans to. It will always be, now the announcement or the flyer or any notification will be from the university, right? Or you can say the school intends to, or the passage or announcement of flyer explains that the university is considering. Yeah, so any of these 3 formats you can use. So it could be the university is considering or the university plans to, and you can begin with according to, or the school intends to play classical music in the cafeteria. Yeah, or the director in this case it will not be school, it will be the director announces that they intend to, or the passage or passage says that, or the announcement is about. Okay, so that is your first sentence of your answer, right? Now as you go further, you have to state whether the student agrees or disagrees. Yeah, so the student agrees or disagrees with the school's decision or proposal, and here itself you give for 2, in this case it was 2 reasons or 3 reasons, whatever the case may be. So that is your second sentence. So your first sentence was about the announcement. Second sentence is about the opinion of the student. And you have to be very clear of what you are saying. Yeah. So you can even say the student supports or opposes these changes, or you can begin with a contrasting word. Now, if suppose the student supports it, so you can say student supports the decision taken by the university for 2 changes, or supports the changes proposed for 2 reasons. Yeah, you can begin that way. And if suppose the student is opposing, you can begin with a contrasting transition. That is, however, the student does not support this plan of playing music in the cafeteria in this particular question, right? So these are your first 2 sentences. Now a clarity in these two things is very important, because that is the first impression that you are given when in your task. So when you are taking the important, now here you have to remember that you have to take the important points from the passage, not everything. And when you are, and very clearly state whether the student agrees or disagrees and how many reasons the student has given. Right? Okay, now next is to elaborate on the points raised by the student. Right? So when you are elaborating on the points raised by the student, each of the points raised by the student is in response to the points in the notification. Right? So then when you are say the firstly the student believes that playing so in this believes or feels or thinks that any of these words can be used. Believes, feels, thinks. So in this particular example that you had, what was the student's first point? So can you frame your sentence accordingly, Akhil? Frame your sentence for the first reason the student gives, or the first point that the student raises.
Yeah, first, the student believes that introducing music in the cafeterias won't help students relax because they prefer studying for the exams.
So they would prefer studying for the exams, and the playing classical music will only be a distraction for them. Right? So that the complete point has to come in. Right? So this, and if there is an extra explanation, you can expand further. So first you say what the student believes, and then now instead of putting everything into one sentence, you can even break it up into two sentences. So the student feels that playing classical music will not help because, and one of the reason given by the student is that one reason is that if the students would prefer studying, or the students use the break for studying or for their assignments or tests, and it will be a distraction for them. Now the same way you explain the second point. So the second point also, maybe you can change your uh, format a little, no, not change the format, but the transition words you can change, or the way you begin. Now when you say firstly the student believes that this, you can go on with the second reason is, yeah, instead of saying secondly the student believes that, yeah, or you can just say secondly according to the student. So if you have were to frame your second point using the template, how would you do that? Who wants to give me the second point? Varnika, are you in a position to speak? Varnika, if you can speak, please come in. Okay, I think you can't speak. Okay, fine. Aditya, can you frame your second point?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go on.
Mm, sec- uh, Another reason is that the man believes. Ma'am, I had a one doubt, small doubt, if I
Yes.
may ask. Ma'am,
Yes,
are we
please.
supposed to say man or the students in this case?
You can say the student and use he or she accordingly. So in this case, it was a male student. So you can just say secondly, he believes that. So you have already used the student in the first sentence.
Hmm.
In the second sentence, you can just go on saying he.
Okay, ma'am.
Or if you want, you can even use the word the man.
Okay, ma'am.
Whatever is comfortable. That is at the spur of the moment, whatever comes to you, you can use, but it should be grammatically correct.
Okay, ma'am. So a second reason is that he says not everyone would like the classical music played in the cafeteria. And because of that, students are more likely to bring their own audio devices.
Anything else he added?
Then this would be disturbing to the students, and hence, instead of communicating amongst each other, they would be more isolated.
Yeah, they would rather be there with their headphones and they would be isolated.
Yes.
Okay, so now you know this is the way you will be formatting your answer. So use a template while you are preparing. You can write down the first parts of the template. Yeah. So like we were. So when you have those 30 seconds to prepare, in front of each of those points that you have, say you wrote down the topic in your notes, right? Say these were your notes, right? Okay. So now you have the topic here. Now here itself you can use like according to the director, whatever the point was, right? So use your template according to the notice or according to the announcement. Then you continue with point number 1. These were the 2 points raised and the reasons given. So this will be your first sentence. This entire notes from your passage will be your first part of your answer. Now coming to the points that you put down, agreed or disagreed. So when before you begin, you just write agree or disagree. And when you are taking down your notes, just a tick mark on agree or disagree. So here it was not agree, it was disagree. Right? So once you have done that, then you come to point number 1. So this will give you your first sentence, the second sentence of your answer. The student disagrees with, however, the student disagrees with the reasons given by the university, right, in the announcement. So the announcement has you've already spoken about the announcement. You don't have to repeat the announcement. You just have to detail out what the student's opinion and reasons are. So now the opinion comes in according to the student. Firstly, the first reason given by the student is this gives your third sentence, right? Then you go on to point number 2 and the reason that will give you your fourth sentence. And here you don't need any conclusion. So this is number 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you have written down the notes, you can easily formulate your sentences. So when you are formulating your sentences, you can just about write down the first 2 words of your template, so you know how to begin. You won't get stuck on how to begin your sentence. Got it? Now here, if you notice, whatever the second student is speaking is not really important. You don't have to use it. Your focus will be on the opinion and the reasons given by the main speaker. Okay? Okay then. So okay, now one thing you have to remember is in the integrated speaking task, you have points for the information, the correct information that you have chosen. Right? So remember that all the information that you choose should be relevant. And don't miss out on any important information that has been given. Right? So now you can keep this in mind. You can write down a little template for yourself. So how did we begin? You first summarize the notice of flyer or whatever announcement has been made. Then get to the student's opinion, right? And then you go on with the first point that the student makes, reason given by the student, why the student disagrees, second point made by the student, and the reason why the student disagrees. If the student was agreeing, then it could be, and if there is a third point, then you go on with the third point also. So that could come in as thirdly or finally. Yeah. And yes, you can use he or she instead of saying just the student every time. Okay. Right. Now we go back to another exercise so you can know exactly what you are expected to do. Okay, now here is your second passage. You can read this, 45 seconds to read the passage and take down your notes. Now everyone will take down your notes. You can use your format to take down your notes, and then we will get back to discussing. And whenever you get to these type of passages, remember to take down the exact word if there is a technical term used. So in this case, it is the Romance Languages Department, and you have to be very careful you use the same term in your answer. And if you use a difficult word you don't remember, it's okay, but at least whatever you state should be correct. Okay, everyone got your notes from the passage?
Yes.
Okay. So Suhana, you've got your notes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you tell me what you have written down? Just read out what you have written.
So, ma'am, for the topic, I've written studying in Rome, and it's organized. I've written Romance Language Department, Bonacore Scholarship, tuition free 2 semesters, and qualifications for selection is essay exploring Italian culture. And second is a detailed plan explaining how a year in Italy will help them to make their essay better.
Okay. Anything else?
No, ma'am, that's all of it.
Something very important you missed out of.
Yes, ma'am, that the people of other departments are ineligible for the
that is
process.
extremely important. So, okay, who else will read out what they've written? Akhil, can you read out what you have written? Just what you have written. I don't want what the fire is any extra points. Just what you have on your paper. Even if it is 1 word, 2 words, it's okay.
I've written scholarship offers to study in Rome. I've written Romance Language Department in 2 semesters. Point 1, essay exploring specific details of Italian culture. Point 2, how a year in Italy would further their research and essay. And that's it.
Okay. So So you also missed out the ineligible for this opportunity part. So this is important. Now here in this particular passage, important points were yes, Romance Language Department. This is all relating to the Romance Language Department. Now, if you don't remember the name of the scholarship, it's just okay. There's a scholarship where studying in Rome for 2 semesters. That was important. Now, the students are required to submit an essay on Italian culture, right? To the selection committee. You can write down. If you haven't written down, doesn't matter. And second, submit detailed plan of a year in Rome, in Italy, for research, further research. And thirdly, it was that students of other departments, that students other than Romance department are ineligible. So any students of the any other department cannot apply. Now, keeping these points in mind, you have to be listening to the track, right? So now I'll play the track for you.
Now listen to two students discussing the announcement.
I think it's totally unfair that the Buonocore Scholarship is only being offered to students in the Romance Languages Department. Like, it's an amazing opportunity, and it's so sad to see it monopolized in this way.
Is it really such a bad thing to limit the scholarship to one department, though? I mean, the fewer students compete for the prize, the easier it'll be for students like us to win it. After all, there are only 7 other students in the whole Romance Languages department besides us.
That doesn't change the fact that it's wrong for the scholarship to be limited to our single department. It's a matter of principle. First of all, there are students in other departments, like history and classics and Renaissance studies, all of whom would definitely benefit from a year in Italy. Why shouldn't they get a chance to submit their work to the committee?
But if they also submitted their essays, it would be harder for us to get the prize.
Look, just because something benefits me personally doesn't make me think that it's right. I mean, I have a lot of friends in history and classics and Renaissance studies, and I totally agree with them that it's wrong for them to be ineligible to compete for the scholarship. After all, Romance Languages is a very small department, and it seems abusive for us to keep this resource all to ourselves.
I guess I see where you're coming from.
Also, I think that it takes something away from the honor of winning the scholarship if the competition isn't very strong. I'd rather know that I earned the opportunity to study in Rome by competing against the very best students, instead of thinking that I was only honored because other talented people were unnecessarily excluded from the process.
Okay, I hope you were able to get the notes. Right? So, Varun, can you tell me what you have got down?
Okay, so I made that table for the first student and the second one. So under the first one, I put, this is with the student who is disagreeing or against this decision. So under her part, I put unfair, monopolized, principle. Others should get abusive department, and then compete. And then for the other student, I put fewer students, higher chance, harder to win, and agree.
Okay. So
mainly because I was trying to make sure I got all the key points. I just wrote like the keywords, and I just left it.
Okay. So you've got more or less some key points. So agree or disagree, what did you take?
She's disagreeing.
She's disagreeing. So the main speaker is a girl. The boy is just the supporting speaker with questions, and the girl's response to those questions also give you some points, right? So it's a small department, unfair to be selected between just 7 students, and then something else. So anybody got any other points? Aditya, do you have any other points?
Ma'am, I wrote this no honor in earning since there is no competition. Then friends who are in other departments and people who deserve it, other people who deserve it.
Okay.
And
Okay, so anything
yes,
else?
and for the boy, one additional point I wrote is somewhat agrees later on.
Okay, so now here in this case, you have to focus on the main speaker.
Yes, ma'am. I'm in the girl. I wrote all the points he wrote and these additional points.
So whatever, now one thing you will see that when you are taking down the notes for the second speaker, those will help you to figure out what the girl says about a particular point, right? So taking down a few points on the second speaker is also important. So the girl agrees or disagrees, why she agrees or disagrees also comes. Okay, so now this is your question. The female expresses her opinion about why she disagrees with the university's new policy. So you can use the word new policy. State her opinion and explain the reason she gives for holding that opinion. Okay, so now you can take about 30 seconds to organize your answer before you start speaking. So to remember the template, so you use a template for this. So in this case, maybe you will be coming up with 3 points in response to 3 things mentioned in the notice given or the university's policy. Okay, anyone ready with an answer? You can take a little over 30 seconds since it's your first try. I'll give you some time. Okay, I think Varun is ready.
Yeah, I guess. Okay.
Okay, you can give it a try. Doesn't matter if it's not perfect.
Yeah. Okay, so the female student disagrees with the university's new policy that limits on the Bono scholarship only to only the Romance Languages Department, because which offers 2 semesters tuition free in Rome. She feels that this policy is allowing the Romance Languages Department to monopolize on this opportunity, and it is unfair to the other departments, as the Romance Languages Department only has 7 or so students, and it is simply a matter of principle that the other departments such as history should also get a shot at the scholarship, even though it would make even though it would make it harder for a single person to win. It would feel better if someone would get the scholarship after having to compete with other departments.
Okay. So you spoke a little over 1 minute.
Okay.
Okay. Now your answer, yes, you will be getting into the habit of organizing it a little better. So you had it would be better if you began with what the announcement was or what was the policy.
Yeah, no, it's
So
like
the
it's that my table is on this page and I wrote the stuff of the passage on the last page. I was like pushing back and forth.
Okay.
to do that.
Okay. So when you are the one thing you will do when you are practicing, take one single page. The top half a page you can write about the passage. The next half the page you can write about the conversation. Yeah. Or if you can make it side by side in a tabular form, it becomes a little easier because you can relate to the points on both sides. Right. So, did you have all your points?
No, so I missed. I think yeah. I missed the part where wait. Actually, I can't remember. Did I mention that? No, I didn't bring in like the abusive the part, didn't I? Okay, so
And anything about the essay?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Right?
I didn't.
Missed a little bit.
I
on
think
the
I missed the essay and mentioning that it has to be like about Italian culture, like a specific aspect.
No, that is not so important in the discussion. But writing an essay and competing between among the other departments rather than only between the 7 in the small because the Romance languages is a small department, that is important. So what the essay should be about is not, even if you talk about what what the opinion of the say the policy is. So the you can, in this case you can begin with the student disagrees with the university's new policy, which says that, right? Or according to the university, you can, or if you can want to separate the two things, the university's new policy mentions that, then you can just about say that the students students have the opportunity for a scholarship for a 1-year study scholarship in Rome. And but what was the main thing apart from the essay? It was that the other students from other departments would be ineligible. So if you look at the conversation, the main thing is that why should the other students not be allowed? So that should be your focus even when you are talking about the policy decision of the university, right? Okay, anybody else wants to respond to this? Yes, Suhana.
Ma'am, can I start?
Yes, you may.
According to the announcement, this university plans to offer an opportunity to the students of the Romance language department for a Bonacor scholarship for 2 semesters, which will be tuition free. The selection process includes writing an essay which explores the Italian culture and then giving a detailed plan how a year in Italy will help them make their essay better. The student, however, disagrees with this announcement. Firstly, the student thinks that this scholarship shouldn't be limited only for the students of the Romance language department. She thinks that this is very unfair as it is a very good opportunity which should be given to the people of the other departments as well. Secondly, she thinks that the departments of history and the departments of classical music will also be benefited by this opportunity. So they should be given a chance to take part in this as well. Thirdly, she thinks that the Romance language is a very small department with 9 other students, and she thinks that she'd rather get chosen by fair competition where everyone who deserves it gets to compete. So she feels like she earned the position.
Okay. So you spoke about 15 seconds more than a minute.
Okay.
Right? Okay. Now, here one thing you have to keep in mind what is the student disagreeing to?
She's disagreeing that the scholarship is limited just for the students of the Romance language department.
Yeah. So when you are talking about the policy decision of the university, the other details about what the essay should be about or what they have to submit, that should be a little shorter.
Okay, ma'am.
And the main thing what she is disagreeing to, that has to be the main point of your answer. Right? So you spend a lot of time in detailing out the university's new policy. So in this case, all the details of the new policy are not required. Just saying that the students are required to write an essay and detail out their plan for the scholarship in Italy. And furthermore, only the students of other departments or the students of departments other than the Romance language are not eligible for the scholarship. And then you go on to the student, however, does not agree or does not agree to the decision made. And then you give the 2 reasons or 3 reasons that she has given. Right? So remember, your time has to focus more on the conversation and the opinions of the student. So details from the passage have to be short. Details from the conversation have to be more. Okay. So I think all of you have got an idea about how to go about this. Yeah. Okay. Now we'll move on to another exercise. So here again we have a campus situation. Okay, so here is your reading passage. So this is a decision change by the geology department. So you can read this passage and then I will play the track for you. So from here you will get down your main points. Okay, everyone got your points down from the passage?
Yes.
Yeah. So, Akhil, what are your points?
Written topic group work and geology department and unpopular because that just brief like written weak students and strong students and how it's unfairly affecting them. Then advantages like organization and communication. And, yeah, then the last part, the individual piece.
So the change would be, what is the change
Student will
proposed?
take the
So
each
New
student
Zealand
will be given an individual people. So
individual piece of work based on the group work and
to ensure
ensure participation. Those were your points. Okay, now I will play a track for you. So when you practice, remember the track numbers are there in your list of tracks. So you go on to the particular track number, you will get what you get.
Thank goodness the department has made changes to the way they assess group work. I had a nightmare last term with our geology project. I couldn't bear going through that again.
Why? What happened?
Well, there were 3 of us in the group. One guy worked really hard, but he didn't trust anyone else to do anything. He just wanted to do it all himself.
It sounds like you were freeloading.
Well, I wasn't. I offered up plenty of ideas, but he kept saying they were no good. In the end, I stopped trying and left it to him. The other guy was a waste of space. He didn't pull his weight at all. We barely saw him.
Did you get a good grade?
A reasonable one, considering how little work I did. But I'm sure I'd have done better if I'd been given the chance to say what I wanted.
Well, the new system should give you that opportunity.
Yeah, I hope so. Though I wish they'd abolish group work altogether. All this organization and communication is just a waste of time. It's got nothing to do with geology.
So that was your track. Right? Now coming to, okay, I hope you all got down your points. Now coming to the question, the man expresses his opinion of group work. State and explain his opinion. Compare his opinion with the opinion of the geology faculty. Yeah. So amongst the same thing, you discuss what the opinion of the geology faculty was, and then you come to the, or you can just talk about the announcement made and about the assessment procedure, and then go on to the opinion and the points raised by the student. Yeah. So when you have written down the points raised by the student, you had his points relating to each of the points raised in the passage. So he spoke about self-organization and communication. He spoke about people not contributing to a project. He also spoke about his own problem where he was not given enough opportunity to contribute. So all these things, all these points will be incorporated into your answer. So you prepare your answer. And while you are preparing, create a template of how you will begin and what is your point number 1, what is your point number 2. When you have your 2 points ready, I want you to respond to this. Good evening, sir. Do you have a meeting now?
Ma'am, I have a meeting at 6 o'clock with these students. तो आपका जब खत्म हो जाएगा, मैं mute पे रहता हूँ. When you get finished, I will then start. Ma'am, some of these students from this group only would be joining in, so we'll continue there. I am right now on mute, madam.
Okay, I'll need just about 5 minutes more.
Madam, please take your time. Please take your time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so who's ready with your response? Akhil? Yes, can you unmute yourself?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, go on.
In face of the problem faced by the students while group projects, the geology department made changes to the work done. According to the plan, students were given specific piece of papers to work on the project to ensure participation. The given student agrees about the idea of the paper. He says that in this last project, he didn't get the opportunity to participate, as a few students like to do their project on their own and some students don't participate at all. But he does not feel the same about the values of the group project, as he says that it doesn't encourage better communication and self-organization.
Anything else? Okay, so you used just about so you still had about 7 seconds left. So any other point you have missed out on? Think about, look at the points that you have written down. Did you miss out on anything?
No, I think that's
You got all your points? Okay, now one thing, as we did in the previous task also, don't go into too much of details from the announcement made or from the text. From the text, you have to just summarize with the main points. Your main focus is on the opinion of the student and the reasons that the student gives for the particular opinion, right? So, and you said something about the paper. What paper were you talking about?
individual papers.
Individual group work. So this is individual assignment, you can say, because here in this entire thing they didn't talk about any paper. Yeah, it talks about individual piece of work. So you can say individual piece of work or individual assignment as such, but any term that is not used either in the conversation or in the passage, you should avoid using in your response. Right? Okay, so now anybody else who wants to respond? Aditya, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you give me an answer to this?
The whole answer, right?
Yeah, whole answer.
Okay, ma'am. Shall I start speaking?
Yeah, just a moment. Yes, you may begin.
The geology apartment made the announcement that from now onwards, the group work would be modified in a way that each student would have to undertake an individual piece of work. The student is happy that the group work has been modified because in the last project he worked on, a single guy worked really hard and didn't agree with others' idea. And in that way, he and his other team members didn't get to work on the project. Even though they got a reasonable grade and he didn't have to put much work in it, he wanted to contribute. And he says that group work is pointless, unlike the geology department, who says that group work is important for self-organization and communication skills. And especially in the field of geology, the student says that group work is unnecessary and hence feels like the group work is pointless.
Okay.
That's all, ma'am.
Okay, so you took exactly a minute. So did you have all your points in place?
Yes, ma'am.
Anything you missed out on?
I don't think so.
Okay, now another thing, when you are responding, it is of course a little difficult while you are responding to organize your sentences as such, but remember your sentences should be grammatically correct.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So if your sentences are to be grammatically correct, you have to think out a little bit so that you don't begin a sentence and then go back on another term or another, like you said, the student doesn't think the same as the geology department who think that self-organization and communication skills are important. Right? So
Yes.
you won't say geology department who. It will be which.
Okay.
Right? So little things which will be noticed by the examiner, you have to take care of. So you have to work a little more on your sentence organization.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so now for everybody, okay, Varun, anything you want to add to this?
No.
Yeah. So
No.
do you think the responses you heard were fine, or you would be responding in a different way?
I feel like maybe I think I would respond about the same.
About the same. Okay. So now you know in task number 2. So this was which task? Task number 2 of your speaking section. Yeah. So what is the first thing you do when task number 2 comes up? Yes, Varun?
Template.
Pardon?
Start writing the template.
Yeah, you start first thing you do is you know that you will have a passage to read. So you create a format or a template to take down your notes. And when you are taking down the notes, what do? The important points have to be taken down. You cannot go back to read or listen again. Right? And your focus has to be, when you are answering, what is your focus on?
The main point.
Main point of?
Or on the audio part, less on
the audio part.
passage.
But you have to anyway begin with summarizing the video, for summarizing the passage that you have read. Okay, so that's all for today, and keep practicing from the topics given to you for the independent section. We'll be meeting Saturday morning. Okay, Aditya, please take note of the timing. It's Saturday morning, not Saturday afternoon.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay,
Yes,
then
ma'am.
thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, sir. I'll take leave. Sir, you have.
Yeah, Rekha, wait one sec. ठीक है, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, students, we are here. Varun and Akhil, you can leave. I would be more interested in talking to Suhana and Aditya. This is about our UC counseling program. So you're already part of the UC counseling program, Varun and Akhil, so you could leave. I would be more talking to Suhana and Aditya. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. हाँ बोलो सलीम.
Sir, thank you.
हाँ तो जरा कोऑर्डिनेट कर यार, वो फिर मेरे को व्हाट्सएप करते हैं. Rekha, you can stop the recording, and you can also leave after you stop the recording. So Suhana and Aditya, myself is Anubhav Sinhal. I think we've interacted in earlier. आप मेरे को जानते होंगे. So this session, we are essentially here. We wanted to talk to students who are planning to go abroad, study abroad. You may have taken SAT and now you're appearing for the